And you're welcome back. Thank you for staying with us here in iBrand Day Break. In a bold effort to curtail government spending, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has declared a 3-month prohibition on publicly funded international travel for ministers and officials starting April 1st. This action coincides with increasing worries about extravagant spending on trips abroad. The decision to impose the travel ban stems from President Tinubu's apprehensions regarding the burgeoning costs associated with official trips abroad. With mounting travel expenses becoming a growing concern, the move is aimed at curbing unnecessary expenditures and promoting fiscal responsibility within the government. And to have this conversation with us is Chinedu Michael. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, let's start this way. Among so many backlashes that this administration has gotten, I think being extravagant, with taxpayers' monies has been one of them. Spending so much, first on the president's entourage, the motorcade, and then the trip to COP20 with very, as said, on the media, mainstream and social, unnecessary persons who joined that trip. That could have happened in a better way, better outcome, even with less persons, less individuals part of that movement, and so much more. We don't talk about the unnecessary purchase of SUVs for members of the House of Representatives and monies shared here and there. We've had several conversations on this platform and even on other sister platforms about these unnecessary spendings. And now the president is, making a bold move, talking about it and taking a step towards, making sure that these unnecessary spendings are curtailed. What has drawn attention, however, is what are the steps put in place to make sure that this is achieved with the positive ends that would be expected, both by Nigerians and the government and the current administration. While you look into that as well, let us get your reaction first to the step taken by the president, and then we'll look at the steps in it.
Okay, I think, good morning, viewers. I think necessity is the mother of invention. And if you look at World Bank report some time ago, you discover that that report, you look at the indices we are trying to paint was pointing towards on the high levels of, let me put it this way, government cosmetic policy, and that report was based on the reality on ground, giving the indication of the exchange rate, and of course that went as far as devaluing the naira. So that's why I said it becomes a necessity, it becomes a burden on the side of the government, to now sit up, because they were actually managing people to poverty. We begin to see people, more lesser cars, more legs on the street, and the economy continued to slow down. And the naira was devalued, I think around February or so, to the tune of about 300%, which became something to worry about. And a time came, you need to know that if something is not being done, Nigerians might decide to, revolt. Or let me just put it that way, because everything was just collapsing. The economy was collapsing, everything was collapsing. Basically because a lot of people believe that he hurriedly, did some certain things, when he when he discovered that he has won the election, and those two policies that we're talking about, the subsidy and the floating of the naira, was hurriedly done without due consultation. So that put pressure on the side of the stakeholders, and before they can be able to realize it, even though they were trying to target, direct foreign investment with those policies, especially on the valuing of the naira. But somewhere along the line, there was crisis everywhere. The government at the time need to do something about it, and that led to the government trying to look for a solution, and they were being advised to implement the Stephen Olasaya's report, which brought us to trying to cost down the cost of governance. If you look at what these people are just recklessly, doing in town when it comes in terms of leadership, if you look at the amount that have gone without anybody accounting, people, public fund, is enormous. Is enough, to carry out a major economic infrastructural development. So I think Yemi Gaduso, the CBN governor, his job was at risk, because a lot of people have started calling that, the president himself should rejig his economic team. And I think he was able to sit down and, begin to try. It was a trial and error, because at a point, I feel that the government were just confused. But we've seen that certain actions have been done in that regard, trying to bring back the economy, and we are beginning to see a little movement in that regard. But the fact still remains is that this is a good development, because what about annually Nigeria is spending over 12 trillion on foreign trips. And when they go in there, I don't know.
In their numbers.
I'm telling you,
Okay, while we agree that this is actually a welcome development, what Nigerians are worried about is the process to it, like usual. And I say it that way because that is how Nigerians have reacted to it outside the media, right? We're seeing the practice of this administration of not having due diligence or due consultations. This statement has just been made 3 months. What does 3 months mean? Is it that this particular pronouncement will only happen for 3 months? Like in the next 3 months, nobody's allowed to travel abroad. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
there is no proper explanation to what this stands for. Is it going to start 3 months after now? There is a date actually, 1st of April. So from the 1st of April, what are we supposed to start seeing? Are we going to start hearing consultations? Are we going to see a committee set up to look into this and how to duly carry it out, so that it won't be another wave in the news, another more propaganda-looking statements, and then after a week or two, we don't hear anything about it. You mentioned your own survey report. It was heavy in the news some weeks ago. Where is it right now? The committee that was set up, how many reports have they submitted? At what point are we at?
Of course, we know that report, we don't know the time frame for that committee, and even though they have come out to say that this is what we intend doing to cost, because it was much, they need to do something about the economy. But the president himself have not come out to tell us whether he is also affected, whether he still is part of the ban himself, whether he will cut down.
These are the issues.
Yes, whether he's going to cut down on some of the unnecessary foreign trips. But we've not heard from that. It still boils down to the issue of trial and error. I think that's what this administration is trying to, push towards what they are trying to do. Like what happened in Abia State, you can see the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, he just went down and did what he wanted, and before you know it, he signed it into law. All the money. Do you know how much these governors? Some of them are even in the Senate. It becomes the government have to be very, very decisive on issues like this. If they are setting up a committee, if there's going to be a legislation in that regard, they should hasten up, because the situation is becoming very, very unbearable for Nigeria.